Imagine a Sagittarius that doesn't know they're a Sagittarius and they need freedom, right? But they're surrounded, let's say, by all these fixed signs, right? Or maybe a few earth signs that are inflexible and are just used to doing things a certain way, don't want to travel all the time, don't need that sense of novelty all the time. And Sagittarius feels like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, why am I always unhappy? Well, because you're surrounded by people that don't like to do things the way you like to do them, that don't live life the way you want to live life. Their soul doesn't call for the same things that your soul calls for, Sagittarius, right? And now you're sad thinking there's something wrong with you when in fact you're just not around the right people for you. And the same could be said for every sign, right? What's good, you guys? Welcome back to Yap Therapy. How's everyone doing? I feel like the energy is feeling better. It's feeling lighter. I don't know. I mean, a lot of good transits are happening right now, so I'm definitely happy about that. I do feel like it's like a breath of fresh air. This was kind of an intense summer. It's not done yet, but I feel like July was intense astrologically. So it feels good to kind of get out of that rut, even though, eclipse season is coming up. But, eclipses happen all the time. Like, you know what I mean? I get it. Also, like, nobody likes change and sudden change, but we're used to things like that happening. And we need to give ourselves more credit when it comes to how well we can do with change. Especially you fixed signs. Like, I know it's scary, but life is always changing. Even if you want to fight hard against it, if something's going to change, something's going to change. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You are not stronger than the universe and what the universe has in store for you. Your path is way, way stronger than your ability to control your life. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons to learn for people that are not flexible in life, is realizing that as much as you want to plan and control, if something is not meant for you, if you're supposed to be somewhere else, if you're supposed to be with someone else, if you're supposed to be in a different career path, you are going to go there. You can go there while screaming and fighting against it, or you can go there willingly. You know what I mean? And I think if you are not comfortable with change and you are inflexible, you are going to go fighting. So then when you get there, the place that you're supposed to be, I feel like you're not even there with the best energy. Like, no matter what, you're there because you're supposed to be there, so that's good. But if you were fighting against it the whole time, I feel like now you're stepping into your purpose or your solid relationship or whatever, kind of like out of breath, because you were fighting during the process of getting there. Whereas if you are just more mellow and as things happen, you're just like, all right, you just like roll with the punches, no matter how strange or different it is than what you imagined it to be. I feel like when you finally get to the places that you're supposed to be at, you will be a better person and able to enjoy this new chapter of your life rather than sitting there and having to reprocess the whole journey because you were fighting against destiny. You know what I mean? So that is definitely something that I have been embodying. If you watched my other episode where I was like, instead of favorite words of the year, let's do least favorite words of the year. And for me, it was surrender, because I was just saying that word so much and like trying to surrender. But ultimately, I think that is where your source of joy can come from in life. It's so simple to just surrender and to just let things happen, even though it's simple, it's not easily done. You know what I mean? You really, really have to have a good relationship with yourself and your mind to be able to surrender and let things happen without you having to sit there and, have like a 5-hour conversation with yourself in your head about it and why it happened this way and why couldn't have happened the other way. This is the way I imagined it to be. You know what I mean? Like, you're wasting your time. We're all wasting our times thinking so much about why things happen this way, why this person said this, why. And it's like, who cares? Because it already happened. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it already happened. There's a time for self-reflection and, reflecting about life, sitting there thinking about what you want to do with your life, whether this is the right relationship for you, like things like that, right? But then there are times where things happen and you don't necessarily need to sit there and think about it and write a 5-page thesis on why it happened this way and why it would have been better if it happened another way and why it's always you that this is happening to. Why me? Why me? And it's like, shut up. All right. Not just to you, me to me too. Because I am a overthinker. I am an overthinker. That is literally one of my worst qualities, worst traits ever. Like, truly, I cannot get out of my own head. I mean, obviously, I've gotten so much better at it. I used to be, just overthinking all the time. I think about Gemini and Scorpio, those energies together, right? Like, Scorpios, obviously, we are constantly overanalyzing everything. Everything is, I fear, that deep when it comes to us Scorpio placements. You know, the saying where it's like, it's not that deep. For us, it's deep. Actually, let's take it deeper. I fear we're not getting deep enough. That is how it goes for us Scorpio placements, right? And that is ultimately what our superpower is, because then we get to the nitty gritty and we get to the bottom of things a lot faster than other people. And we're courageous enough, to go into the underworld and see things that other people are too scared to look at, too fearful to actually look at in the eye. We are willing to do that. But then the bad side of that is you getting deeper and deeper in situations and in thoughts that you have no business getting that deep in. You know what I mean? Like, you're just almost torturing yourself. And that is very much what Scorpio likes to do when we are operating at our lowest vibration, or when we're having a bad day or a bad chapter. We love torturing ourselves, right? Like, we almost love inflicting pain, emotional pain onto ourselves. And we love to guilt trip ourselves, and get mad at ourselves. And then now we're just kind of taking a permanent residence in the underworld and not allowing anyone to help us, and just kind of feeling like we deserve it, So there's really a lot of positive things that come with being that deep and going deeper. And then there are the negative aspects of it where you just can't get out of your own head. So that's something that I definitely struggle with. And then Geminis, you're just thinking. Mercury is just going crazy, running laps around your brain. And I feel like growing up, I was just always in my head. And I think as I've gotten older with meditation and healing and astrology, self-development, and honestly, a lot of forgiveness and compassion for myself. That's what also has helped me get out of my own head. So if you're someone that struggles with just living in your head and judging yourself, and when you're judging yourself, you're also judgy towards other people. And I'm not here to bullshit you. I'm a judger. Katie. I'm a judger. I'm a pusher. And I think a lot of people are like scared to admit that. I judge often, but my thing is there's like judging in your head, and then there's like judging, going online and like being like, oh my God, you're disgusting. Or why do you live life like that? Or even in real life, like giving people like unsolicited advice. Like, at the end of the day, we're all humans. I think naturally we all judge. We can't help but try and understand people. And if they're living life differently than us, we can't help but judge them, right? But I'm self-aware enough to know that, first of all, that is my mind. That is my opinion. Doesn't mean it needs to be shared, So it's okay if I'm judging people in my head. Now, if it gets to a point where I'm like hyper obsessed and judging someone in a specific situation, I'm also self-aware enough to look at myself and be like, okay, girl, Sarah, like, are you triggered? Like, why is this bothering you so much to the point where you can't get it out of your head, right? Like, because there's like stupid judging, and then now there's like you're hyper obsessing, which us Scorpios do too. Because then you really need to sit there and be like, why am I so pressed about this? This doesn't affect me. But maybe it does, because it is a mirror, something is mirroring back to me, and it's showing me something within myself. That's why I'm so pressed about this, right? So it's important to have that level of self-knowledge to understand why you are being judgmental when you're being judgmental. This is why I love my Virgos. One of my besties is a Virgo, and when we basically there are many pillars, that are the foundation of our relationship, and there are many deep ones, but one of them is reality TV. Like, we love the Housewives. Like, since we were young, we've always watched the Housewives, and we always have these takes, and it's reality TV, right? And there's very few people I love like sitting there and just getting to the nitty gritty of like reality TV and our characters with. And his Virgo ass is so good at that. And I know he enjoys it with me too, because we just be saying it all, everything we feel about these people, right? But again, we're doing it in the safety and the privacy of our conversation. So if you're going to be judgy in private, you know? And if it gets to the point where you're just judging someone specifically all the time, then it's time to consider why you have this intense attraction towards them and their life and their, choices. So something to definitely consider. But yeah, it's just overthinkers. I give it out to you. It's really, really not easy to be an overthinker and to also live a happy life. Like, I don't think that's a hot take. But yeah, like when you're living in your head, it's very hard to live outside, live in this world, right? Because you're so busy thinking about everything that is happening externally and how you're reacting to things that are happening externally. You're just living in your head. And I don't know. I feel like it's sad because I think it's happening more often than not where people are overthinking, probably because of social media too. I feel like a lot of things just go back to the internet, right? Like a lot of like bad things go back to the internet. And I just constantly have this debate in my head of like, did the internet, social media make things better or worse? And I know most people are going to say worse, but I really have a hard time deciding between the two, because I think there are a lot of good things that have come out of social media and the internet, such as, fast communication with the people that you love around the world, and being in the know, right? Like when bad things are happening, it's really easy for people to share what's happening, maybe in the past, no one would have known these things because no one could share it or share it fast enough, right? So these are beautiful aspects of the internet and social media, right? And connecting with people, right? Like, I think there are plenty of people that maybe live in states or places where they don't see people like them often, right? And the internet and social media allows them to see more of people that they relate to, so they feel less alone in this world, And I think that is such a beautiful part of social media and the internet, but obviously there are so many negative aspects of it too. So I don't know, that's how I feel. You guys let me know down below. If you're listening, go to the YouTube and comment, like, how do you guys genuinely feel about social media and the internet? And I mean, you're here, so if you're commenting, you're using it. Let me know what your real thoughts are about the pros and cons of social media and the internet, and if you think you would be happier if it was gone, And it's really easy to be like, take it away, but also take it away. You guys know that one scene in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban? Take it away. Anyway, if they were to take it away, I also think it's really easy to say that, but there's so many people that, their jobs are directly correlated with the internet and social media, so it's not as easy as just being like, we're all going to be happier when it's gone. It's like, well, actually, plenty of people are just not going to have a job anymore, so we can't just do that either, so yeah, let me know down below. Okay, so I created a little list myself because it just came to me. And I want to talk about the signs that love to reinvent themselves every 6 months. You're like, that's very specific. Yeah, every 6 months. You know what I mean? And honestly, when I was thinking about it, 6 months is a great time because, first of all, besides the fact that it's half a year, 6 months is like when the cycles happen, like with the moon cycles, right? Because you have like the new moon, let's say, in Leo happening during Leo season, and then you're going to have the full moon in Leo during Aquarius season, right? Like 6 months from now. So I think it's a good timeline to think about when you're thinking about things changing in your life and you changing, right? So I wanted to go through that list, and yeah, let's just get into it. Signs that love to reinvent themselves every 6 months. First one we have is Gemini. Listen, Gemini is all about fun and all about just expressing themselves through new hobbies, right? Like Gemini is just so like, I don't know, like cousin coded. You know what I mean? Like, and let me explain it to you. Like when you see your cousin, like, and you don't see them often, right? But when you do see them, it's like really fun and you're excited to see them. And it's like, what are you into? Like, who are you? Like, what's changed since the last time I seen you? You know what I mean? Like, you guys know what I mean? Like, if you grew up with cousins, that's what it would be like, especially if you didn't see them all the time, but you saw them like once or twice a year, right? That to me is Gemini energy. Like, it's just exciting to see them again. And it's exciting to see what they're into now, right? And Gemini, because they're so curious, you know, that curiosity, I feel like leads them to have all these different hobbies and be interested in learning about other people's hobbies, what's fresh and new. They get bored really easily, right? Jack of all trades, master of none, right? No, Gemini, you can be a master of one. You can be a master of 200 if you want to be. Anybody can, right? I don't know how I feel about that specific saying. Because I consider myself to be a jack of all trades, and I do have my masters in several of them. But yeah, with Gemini, I feel like because of that curiosity and that childlike nature that they have, it really allows them to have a new identity. Honestly, it doesn't even need to be every 6 months. For Gemini, it's a lot faster than that, right? It can really, really be anything that leads them to reinventing themselves, right? Whether it's a new hobby, a new friend group, moving, like they're just ready to take on a new adventure all the time, which brings me to the second sign that I have here, which is Sagittarius, right? Sagittarius, this one is also not surprising at all. Sagittarius, if they could move every 2 months, they would. Like if it was logistically possible, if it was possible with their job, you know what I mean? Like they would do it. Like that's what makes Sagittarius happy. The happiest in life is being around new people, new environments, and experiencing new things. Putting themselves in situations that they've never been in before. Sagittarius lives for that, right? Because I think a lot of people forget that Sagittarius is ruled by the ninth house of education, right? So they love learning, right? Sagittarius loves learning. They love higher learning. They love spiritual awakenings, right? So I think when you are someone that is willing to learn, is always excited to learn new things, of course you're going to be the type of person that reinvents themselves every 6 months, right? Because how can you be willing to take in new information and not change? You know, it's always the most open-minded people that are willing to reinvent themselves, right? That are willing to change themselves with the times, right? They're kind of flowing through life, changing as the world is changing, right? And then there are obviously signs that they will stay the same forever, even if everything around them is changing, right? We won't name names. We won't name names. And with Sagittarius, you know, I think a lot of times they can get really sad when things have stayed the same for a long time, you know? Like, I ain't no doctor, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I'm your astrological doctor, right? I'm your astrologist doctor, okay? And because of that, I feel like Sagittarius is maybe they don't realize if you're stuck in a rut, if you're sad, if you're just like, what is wrong with me? Have you changed anything in the last 6 months? Like in the last year, 6 years? Oh my God. If you haven't changed anything, Sagittarius, in a long time, and you're like, why am I sad? Because you're literally going against everything that your soul wants and needs. So listen to your heart, listen to your soul, go change some shit. Like do something different, because you're almost caging yourself, you know? And I mean, I feel like Sagittarius, I hope you're around people that like to do new things, new fresh things with you, right? But if you're not, if you're somehow around all of these other signs that aren't as flexible, you may have completely boxed yourself into this group, right? You know, we can't sometimes help our environment and who is around us and who we've chosen to be close to, or relationships. I mean, you can change it. You do have a say in it, but sometimes you're in it and you don't realize how unhappy you are. And you don't even consider that maybe I'm unhappy because I'm not around the right people, right? naturally we can't help but be like, there's something wrong with me. And maybe there is, and maybe you need to be medicated, But also sometimes maybe it's because you're around the wrong group of people. You're in the wrong relationship, right? I think the easiest one is obviously growing up with a family that you don't feel connected to, that does things differently than you, that, is maybe judging you, or maybe they're not judgy, but you just see how different they are than you, right? So I think that's very much also possible with friends, but I think it's easier to not notice that because naturally we're like, well, I pick my friends, so of course I like my friends, of course, like, this is great, right? Or relationships, like, I chose to be in this, like, of course I'm happy. So if I'm depressed or if I'm going through something, like, it's me, right? Like I said, it could be you, but it also could be other people. It could be the people you're surrounding yourself with. Maybe you don't mesh with them and you're just not admitting it to yourself, right? So for example, the example being Sagittarius, if you're someone that's a free spirit that wants to enjoy life, right? And you're maybe surrounded by people that are, maybe not as flexible or are okay with the same routine, you're going to feel like, well, maybe that's how I need to be, Not everyone is into astrology. And I think that's the craziest part to me about people that don't believe in astrology, don't use astrology, is that they're missing out on understanding themselves and why maybe they're feeling what they're feeling, right? Imagine a Sagittarius that doesn't know they're a Sagittarius and they need freedom, right? But they're surrounded, let's say, by all these fixed signs, right? Or maybe a few earth signs that are inflexible and are just used to doing things a certain way, don't want to travel all the time, don't need that sense of novelty all the time. And Sagittarius feels like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Like, why am I always unhappy? Well, because you're surrounded by people that don't like to do things the way you like to do them, that don't live life the way you want to live life. Their soul doesn't call for the same things that your soul calls for, Sagittarius, right? And now you're sad thinking there's something wrong with you when in fact you're just not around the right people for you. And the same could be said for every sign, right? Every modality, every element. Like you just need to be around people that compliment you and the things, I don't mean like compliment you. Well, yeah, you should be around people that compliment you, tell you you're hot shit. But I mean compliment you, like your lifestyle, your belief system, your values, and the things that you enjoy. They need to mesh together, right? Because then they'll help you get back to you, right? Because they'll want to do the same things that you do. When they're feeling down, they're like, hey, let's go do this. Hey, let's go do that, right? Because they know you, because they understand you, and they realize that your needs are similar. So when you're having an off day or chapter of your life, these people can look at you and be like, hey, I know what you need. This is what you're not doing, right? This is what you love to do. This is usually what makes you feel better. Whereas if they don't like the same things as you do, and they don't have the same values as you do, and they don't move through life the way your soul wants to, they're not going to have the best advice for you. They're not going to understand why you're, feeling the way you're feeling. Like, to them, using the example of Sagittarius again, they're going to be like, well, you have a stable job and, everything's stable. Like, why aren't you happy? And it's like, I don't want to be stable, right? Like, Sagittarius is like, it's not about stability for me. I need to adventure. Why aren't you getting that? I need to adventure, right? So just something to consider when you're thinking about astrology, right? Okay, the next sign that I know loves to reinvent themselves every 6 months is Scorpio. You think Scorpio the Phoenix wasn't going to be here? What do you think this was? Of course we're here. Scorpio is always, always, always ready to reinvent itself, right? Scorpio placements, we will fully embody the hell out of one version of ourselves, right? Like, whether it's us in that one relationship, whether it's us in this, at this one job, whether it's us with this new style, right? Like, we get obsessed. If you didn't know this already about Scorpio placements, is that we are known to be obsessive. We get obsessed with everything, inanimate objects, people, experiences, like, we get obsessed with everything. So of course, when you reach a point where that obsession isn't, obsession and love anymore, it's obsession and hate and being completely over shit, right? Pluto, deading it, the need to dead it, then it's time to reinvent yourself, right? So with Scorpio, it's all about, let's take it further, as I was talking about earlier in this video. Let's get deep, let's get deeper. And, contrary to popular belief, there is a limit, right? The limit does exist for Scorpio when it comes to certain situations and certain chapters, obviously. And when we reach that, there's literally no going back. Like, it's time to dead it, and it's time for me to be someone completely new, right? Like, that version of me no longer exists, right? And I think that is the beauty of Scorpio energy, is that the darkest of times leads us to these new chapters that are filled with joy and new experiences and new people, right? And it's all about being courageous enough to allow yourself to go through those dark times, because after the first few reinventions that you have, right, Scorpio, then you almost start getting obsessed. You almost start getting addicted to reinventing yourself, and you're no longer afraid of, trying new things and letting go of what no longer serves you. Because again, with Scorpio, I think it's kind of like an oxymoron. What do you mean a fixed sign likes to reinvent itself? But this isn't a regular fixed sign. This is a fixed sign that is associated with the phoenix. What does the phoenix do? It burns itself and then it rises from its own ashes, right? So with Scorpio, it's all about reinventing yourself when people and situations no longer serve you, right? And it's not always obviously a choice, right? Like, you're in a different level of, I think, your healing journey or your soul journey when you do it intentionally, and you're like, I need to get rid of these traits. I need to get rid of these people. I need to, move. Like, if you're at that level of your soul's evolution where you're willingly choosing to reinvent yourself, right? Amazing. But before you get there, Scorpio, you still have this energy surrounding you that forces you to burn it all down to become a new person, right? And I think that's the magic of Scorpio, is at the beginning of our lives, when we don't know that we have this energy, right? This Phoenix energy, like, we can't help but feel like, why does it always get so dark with me? Why is life so dark and gloomy? Why is it always so intense? And it's like, well, it's intense because it's, in the process of being deaded, right? It's in the process of burning down, and nobody enjoys that, right? But no one tells you after that happens, it's a beautiful new chapter, right? You're almost thinking that you're going to stay in this darkness forever. And I just wish I could go back and tell younger me, younger Sarah, and every other Scorpio that is younger or, is still processing this energy about them. I wish I could go and tell them and tell younger me, just let it happen. Like, you're going to be okay. It's going to be intense. It's going to be intense as fuck, right? And you're going to think that there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and how can it get better when I'm feeling all these negative feelings and all this darkness is surrounding me, and I just feel the weight of the world on me, and I just feel like my emotions are drowning me. I'm drowning in my own emotions, right? When you're there, Scorpio, there's always a brighter chapter ahead. It's just that with us, we need to take it there and burn it down before we get that happy chapter, right? It's not a easy transition, right? As it may be for some other signs, right? Like, for some other signs, maybe Sagittarius and, even Gemini, like, reinventing yourself it's not maybe as scary of a task, right? Because to them, it's like natural, right? It's like, all right, let's change it up, right? That transition, I think, is a little bit more effortless and smooth. Whereas for Scorpio, that transition is harsh, right? But it's still happening. It's a part of your soul's journey, Scorpio. So get comfortable with that. And I don't know, just anyone, not just even like certain zodiac signs. Really be happy about the fact that at any point in your life, you can change anything. Yeah, you can change literally anything about your life. I don't know who told you you can't. I don't know why that voice in your head is telling you you can't, and it's different with you. Like, no, I don't have options. Lies. It's all lies. It's lies that you've told yourself. It's lies that you've taken on from people that were around you when you were growing up. It's lies that you have learned from society and movies. You can literally change any part of your life. You just have to be courageous and willing enough to do it, right? And if you don't do it, you don't want it bad enough. If you don't do it, you don't want it bad enough. And that's okay. But be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself about why you're not doing it and why things are staying the same. It's because you do not want it bad enough, right? So understand that. Okay, and the final sign that I have is Virgo. And actually, I do have also another sign that gets a special shout out. But like, yeah, are we surprised that like most of the mutable signs are here? Like mutables are all about change, right? Like you guys enjoy change. So of course the mutables, we're all going to get a shout out here. The thing is, but you wouldn't think to put Virgo here. Virgo is like, when it comes to mutable signs, Virgo is like that one person that's like, no, like I swear, like I do have a girlfriend. They just like go to another school. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no one believes you. No one believes you. Like, you wouldn't believe that Virgo is, a mutable sign because of the way they act, right? Like, because of how maybe rigid they are in their schedule. But I swear it's true. They are a mutable sign. Like, believe us when we tell you. They are. Because for me, Virgo obviously needs to be on this list because they're ruled by the sixth house of routine, right? And self-care, right? They always find a new way to make themselves and life better, right? When I think of self-improvement, I think of Virgo, right? This need for perfection, this journey towards being the ultimate perfect person on planet Earth that every Virgo placement encounters at some point in their life or is always living, through that experience. It comes from, them being also ruled by the sixth house of routine, right? Because to them, it's all about how can I make my life better for me to be more perfect, right? So your daily routine, right? Your daily routine affects you tremendously. And we don't necessarily always think about that. I think I've talked about this before, is we're always thinking about the big picture, but we're not thinking about our days. Like, what does your day look like? What do you spend your time doing? Those little things make up your life. Those little things make up your week, your month, your years, your life, right? And with Virgo, because they're ruled by the sixth house, they're constantly thinking about like, okay, what should I do? My schedule. What do I need to do? Okay, I need to do this. I need to do that. Okay, it's 1 p.m. That means I need to, have my lunch because I need to work out at 2:30, or I have to do this. You know what I mean? Like they're always thinking about their schedule and their routine and how it's working out and whether it's not working out, right? And they're very sensitive to their schedule changing and their routine changing. So I think that's why I put them on this list, because with Virgo, if they pick up a new habit, a new habit for self-improvement, right? Of course they're reinventing themselves. Like, what is that, right? When self-improvement is always on your mind, yeah, you're constantly changing and evolving because you're taking on these new hobbies or, practices to make yourself a better person and to, I don't know, just live a more simpler life. Even though that sounds crazy for Virgo, simple, but ultimately that's what Virgo wants. They want routines that work, right? They want a simple life that works, right? Like there are routines and rules and processes in order for them to thrive, right? And that's why they get anxious and annoyed and sad and upset and angry when things, steer away from that routine, when things change last minute, because to them, it's like a journey. They're like, if I do it this way, that's what my destination will be. That's why they're planners, because they know what they want and they're like, and they know who they want to be. So they act accordingly to be that and to get that, right? And when something, drops in front of them out of nowhere, when someone ruins, a plan that they had in place, they start spiraling, because to them, that means you affected my ending, right? You affected the end of my journey. You affected what I'm working towards, right? And it could be something as simple as going to dinner at 6 p.m. because you put something on me at, 4:45. Now I can't go to dinner at 6 p.m. And now I'm anxious because that is what I had pre-planned in my head, right? So although they can be very rigid in that sense, they still very much want to reinvent themselves and become better. So that's why they're on this list. And the last, mutable sign is going to get an honorary mention, and it's Pisces. So the reason I was having a hard time putting Pisces on this list, don't get me wrong, Pisces can definitely reinvent themselves because they are, mutable water, and because they are able to see through things and people really easily, right? And they can connect with people really easily, right? And situations, right? They see themselves in everything. And because of that, I think it's easy for them to reinvent themselves. But it's all about, it ultimately comes back to the fantasy and whether that fantasy bubble is ready to be popped, you know? And if it's not, and they are emotionally tied to that version of themselves or that version of reality, right? Then they will stay like that for a long time, you know? So that's why I was having a hard time with Pisces on this one, because it really just depends on that fantasy, that illusion that they've created for themselves, right? And the fantasy isn't always bad. You know what I mean? Like when I talk about the Pisces fantasy, it's not always bad. Granted, it can be bad if you're delusional and you've, have this idea of what life is or what a certain person is, and it's not that at all, and you're just lost in this little dream world that really isn't real, then it's a problem. But if you're in this fantasy of, you just love life the way it is and you love these people and you don't want it to change, like, whatever, have fun. So it's all about that for Pisces. If the fantasy is still working out for them, they don't feel the need to change, right? They don't feel the need to change anything. Actually, they're emotionally tied to this, right? Especially if the people they're around or their situation, brings them emotional peace, right? They have no problem just staying like that forever, right? But I do think it's good for Pisces to also reinvent themselves, because I don't know, I feel like you guys need people around you that can very kindly pop those, fantasy bubbles when needed. And obviously you as Pisces, those people, you need to trust them and love them, because if it's that trust hasn't been built and you pop, Pisces's fantasy bubble, they're going to look at you as like public enemy number one. They're like, how dare you? Like, how dare you try to bring me back down to reality? Like, I don't even know you like that. You know what I mean? So Pisces really has to trust you in order to give you that type of power. And they're not giving you that power, that needle to pop their fantasy bubble, right? But you're just there because you love them so much and you're sick of seeing them in this, loop that you're like, yo, like, let me show you what's actually happening down in the real world, because you've been up there for so long and you think this is working out, but I'm seeing you and your soul wither away. So we need to do something about this. Boop. So you pop that bubble, and if they trust you and they love you, yeah, they're going to be a little sensy and they're going to be like, why'd you do that? But ultimately they know that you have their back, right? So be careful with Pisces. If you're not close enough with them, don't be telling them about reality. Don't be telling them about reality and why they should come back to it, because really that's going to make them run further and further away from you, right? You're just not that important enough for them to believe, right? Like, they don't believe you. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that was my list. Let me know if you have any of these signs and in your chart, and if you consider yourself someone who reinvents themselves, if you like reinventing yourself. And this is what I really want to know, is when you think about past versions of yourself, do you have compassion for those versions of you? And that may be, a little intense and a little deep, but that's something that I, have been considering, or have always considered. Not always, not when I was like 3 years old. Something that I've considered in my healing journey is like the relationship I have with the past versions of me, and how much compassion I have or lack of compassion I have for them. Because, oh my God, I don't know about you guys, but when I hit my Benjamin, and most of the time it's fun, but you know how it be. Sometimes them sativas be getting you in your head, and now you're thinking about every mistake you've ever made and every version of you that was embarrassing and cringe, and every bad moment you've ever had. Right? And you get in your head and you start like dissecting it, and you're like, you get cringed out by yourself. And I've just been making it a point to tell myself out loud if I'm alone, because in front of people would be weird. Or in my head, just tell myself, listen, you're being judgy right now. You're being really judgy right now. Like, past Sarah does not deserve this. Like, she did the best she could, like, I don't know what to tell you. So when you're sitting there and you're judging these past versions of you, and I hope you are obsessed with the current version of you, but the current version of you, the person that's sitting there right now, or me right now, I wouldn't be here if these past versions of me weren't courageous enough to do dumb shit and make mistakes, right? Because that's how I learned, and that's how I became strong, and that's how I started to have more compassion for myself, right? So it's all about compassion and self-awareness, and just giving yourself grace, giving yourself grace. Like, life is not easy, you guys. Life is not easy. People aren't easy. You're not easy. You know what I mean? So the mistakes you've made along the way, if you didn't act at your highest vibration, you know what I mean? I know it sucks and regret is the worst, right? But don't judge yourself, like people already are judgmental in life. The last person that needs to judge you is you to you. Okay, I saw a funny tweet by Earth Dawn Baby. They're an amazing creator on Twitter, and I think they're on Instagram too. I'll post it here. And they said, choose your fighter, a grumpy Taurus or a passive-aggressive Cancer. And this is very interesting. We're going to have this conversation. This is very interesting because I fear both of these. And, maybe someone that is just getting into astrology and doesn't really understand the depths of these two signs, they're like, what do you mean? Taurus and Cancer? One's ruled by Venus, the other one's ruled by the moon. What do you mean? They're just softies. They're chilling. Until they're not. Until they're not. Until Taurus doesn't get what they want. Until everyone isn't following dictator Taurus and doing everything by the book. The book written by Taurus. And until Cancer feels like their emotions are not being prioritized over everyone else, right? When Cancer gets passive aggressive, I'd run the other way, because it's like building. With Cancer, it's like, okay, the passive aggressive comments start with Cancer, and that's how the crash out is approaching, right? Because they're not ones to just like crash out. Like, they are ones to crash out. Let me backpedal here. They'll crash out, but the signs are there. You know what I mean? Like, the signs are there. They're being passive aggressive, right? They're being passive aggressive. Whereas I feel like with Taurus, the signs aren't there, Taurus is calm for the most part. They want to be stable. They value stability, right? That's why they like things to stay the same, because they're comfortable with that, right? And comfort is everything for Taurus. But when finally they reach that boiling point and the bull comes out, yeah, you're not going to really know what to do, because the signs weren't there. Like, usually Taurus is quiet and chill, and they'll probably be quiet and chill, but you're just assuming they're being chill, whereas really they're in their head and they're about to blow up, right? And when Taurus is grumpy, I don't know, it's really hard to get them out of their funk, you really, really, really just need to give them time to sort that shit out, because they're not ones to like sit there and talk it out with you always, right? I think with Taurus, things have led to them being that grumpy, right? Because again, usually Taurus is very emotionally regulated. They're that type of sign that is very emotionally regulated. And when you're emotionally regulated, it takes a lot for someone to destabilize you, right? But if Taurus is grumpy, if someone got their food order wrong, if they wanted to eat alone, suddenly someone comes up to them and is like, let's eat together. Taurus is like, I'm having the worst day of my life now. Like, actually, like, you ruined my day by doing this. Valid. You know what I mean? Actually, like, I will say, sidebar, I hate when I get bothered when I'm about to eat. I'm not talking about like when I'm with people I love and we're eating. I mean, like, when you are out, maybe at work, or like you just want to like eat, you just want to watch your show, you want to watch your little YouTube video, you just want to eat. Suddenly everyone wants to talk. And it's like, you are ruining everything for me right now. Like, this was the joy that I was looking forward to all day, and now I have to share it with you. So Taurus, I get you. I get you. But yeah, and then like the passive aggressive Cancer, like the scary part about that is that, yeah, it's like, it's building. They'll say one little, passive aggressive remark that's like not too intense, but it's like, wait, okay, interesting. And then they start making it a little bit more personal. And when it reaches that level with Cancer where their passive aggressive remarks are like very personal and like tailored to you, like, isn't that so sweet? They know exactly what to say to get to you, but they're not openly saying it. They're saying it in a way where they could just be like, no, like emotional manipulation, as us water signs tend to do when we're, not being ourselves, because we don't ever do that when we're okay. So with Cancer, it can get real passive aggressive, right? Because they want you to almost bite back, right? That's what it is with Cancer. It's like, here's some of my emotions, now give me some of yours. Here's some of my emotions, now give me some of yours. And they want the fight to kind of spiral from there, right? So if I had to choose my fighter, I'm picking, God, it's hard. It's honestly really hard. Oof. Oh man, I think. Okay, honestly, it's really hard. I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings because both are great contenders here. But I'm going to go with passive aggressive Cancer. I'm sorry, I have to go with my water sign. I mean, I have to go with my water sign girlies here because to me as a Scorpio, I need that passive aggressiveness to distract them, right? Like if we're talking, it says choose your fighter, right? So we're on the same team and we want some outcome where we win, right? That's how watch it not even be that. Like when something says choose your fighter, I'm thinking we're going in a battle. Who do I want with me, right? So I want passive aggressive Cancer because this is why I want passive aggressive Cancer because they're going to confuse the enemy, right? When you have a passive aggressive Cancer, like the enemy doesn't even know if they should get mad yet, right? Because they say a passive aggressive remark and the enemy's like, wait, what? You know, and now they're in their head. The enemy's in their head. Whereas grumpy Taurus, like the enemy's trying to figure out what's wrong with them, right? And they're scary, don't get me wrong. But for me, I would actually really appreciate the mental war that a passive aggressive Cancer brings forth to our group, right? I think when you're making passive aggressive remarks, it leaves room for the other party to get in their head. And as a Scorpio who is ruled by Mars, I will never ever underestimate the power of getting into the head of your enemy. It's very, very important in any sort of battle, right? So that's why I'm taking passive aggressive Cancer with me because while I'm plotting and scheming, I'm going to put my little passive aggressive Cancer at the forefront of this war to confuse my enemy. And at first, Cancer will make them feel like they're their friend because it's sweet, soft Cancer ruled by the moon. And then suddenly they'll start saying these little passive aggressive remarks and the enemy's like, wait, are you my friend or my enemy? Well, while you're thinking about that, here comes my Scorpio ass and I'm about to ruin you, you know? So that's how it goes. We won. Thank you, Cancer. We make a great team. Don't get me wrong. Taurus, I know we'd make a great team too. But for right now, I'm going to go with Cancer. But you guys have to let me know who you go with. Choose your fighter. Do you want a grumpy Taurus or a passive aggressive Cancer? All right. And maybe this was mostly about like which one is like easier to deal with. You know, choose your fighter. Would you rather deal with a grumpy Taurus or a passive aggressive Cancer? But that's not how I took it. I took it as we're going into battle. I feel like I'm wrong. I feel like the other way is probably what this was meant to be. But yeah, when you are telling me choose my fighter, I'm thinking, who am I taking with me into battle? All right, you guys, that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed these topics. As always, please, please, please comment about any of the topics I touched on. I know I asked some questions, so answer those questions. Leave me long replies, like write an essay. Like I don't care, do what you gotta do. Write one word, say something, stop being silent. Were you silent or were you silenced, right? Like say something, say with your chest. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, leave me a review on the app because that helps out your girly a lot. And if you want to be part of the community, you have to come to the YouTube channel to at least comment, see what other people are saying, because I just love reading what you guys have to say. And I just love when you guys connect with any part of the conversation that I'm having with y'all during Yap Therapy. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and don't forget to just take it easy, live life. All right, be kind to yourself because life is hard enough as it is. I love you guys so much and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.